I got picked up at the airport last night. Long story, got in really, really late, couldn't park my car, and the guy that picked me up said, I just had Chris Broussard a couple of weeks ago. That is a good man. And I'm like, he certainly is. Let's bring on the good man, Chris Broussard, voice of the NBA on this network. I know that sounds real bougie, like you and I use cars, but sometimes in our schedule we have to. Okay.
It helps.
So
yes.
I'm not even going to talk about the Westbrook.
I'm shocked. I got to give you props.
Let's hear it for me, John.
I'm shocked
for me?
that you didn't lead with that. I really am.
No.
I know it'll be the lead tomorrow, but
no. But I thought the one that really resonated with me is that the players were asked about the greatest of all time, and LeBron and Kobe now are at the center of that ring equal, and it wasn't like that 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'll say this. Look, I'm glad, first of all, the players recognize Jordan as the greatest. He is. And I've had LeBron ahead of Kobe forever.
I thought everybody did.
He's second. Right. Well, in my experiences, talking to former players over the last several years, surprisingly, the majority of them have always picked Kobe over LeBron to me.
He's a scorer.
What they love about Kobe and why they have put him over LeBron, this is ex-players who face both, is that they always point to the killer instinct. Like, I get the impression that players didn't want to go against Kobe because they feared him. They knew he was going for the jugular. LeBron, they obviously have great respect for his ability and his skills, but it's not the feeling like he's going to go out there to crush you, to rip out your heart. And I agree, Kobe's got more of a killer instinct, but I don't think his killer instinct outweighs the other things LeBron has over him. But again, many ex-players have told me they do think Kobe has it over LeBron. So I'm not that surprised that it's close, but Kobe is gaining. If LeBron has a year next year this year,
now this sounds crazy.
It could change.
But this sounds crazy. And Joy just hates this topic. But listen, we all do this. Even psychologists will sit down and said, you're over dramatizing your childhood. Your mom wasn't that terrible to you. She was just, blah, blah, blah. We all tend to exaggerate and create our own history. I've done it. I've done enough therapy. We do this with sports, too. We forget that Michael Jordan missed all sorts of game-winning shots. We just remember he was 6 for 6.
Right.
And then, we make Michael, we forget that from between James Worthy leaving at Carolina and his first NBA titles, there was 8 years where he just shot a lot and didn't win a lot of big games. We forget that. Couldn't beat the Celtics, couldn't beat the Pistons. But if LeBron James next year again struggles and they don't assemble this great team, and for the second year in a row is not a playoff person, there are going to be a lot of people that say, he did it in the East. They went over to the West, and it was, that's going to happen.
Absolutely right. And I actually feel like, look, I think LeBron's going to come back with a great season next year. I think they make the playoffs for certain. I don't care if they don't add anybody and they got the same exact team. I think he leads them at least to the playoffs. However, if he's going to miss the playoffs or go out in the first round for the next few years, for his legacy, it would actually be better if next year he's at 23 points, 7 rebounds. You begin to see the decline individually. Then people would just say, oh, he got old. It happens. Got old. But if next year, if he's still 27, 8 and 8, or 28, 8 and 9 or something like that, and can't lead you to victories, that's when people will begin to say, well, he looks like he's just as good. His statistics are just as good, but he can't win. And to your point, they'll say, look, Kobe was in the West his whole career. He had to beat San Antonio just to get to the finals.
No, it will absolutely elevate Kobe Bryant. It will elevate Michael Jordan, who went through the East. He had to go through really good teams in the East. Remember, Michael got to the finals, and none of those teams were ever great. The Suns,
he had to go through Ewing,
Sonics,
and the
they weren't Utah. Those teams never won any titles.
Well, Jordan was in the era where it was like 1 or 2 stars on the team.
Yeah,
1 or 2, not really big threes.
So The Athletic, Sam Amick, they did this poll where they polled like 25-30% of the league, and they talked about. I've got to get this. They talked who you'd start your team with. Now, you're a former guard.
Yes.
And a slot receiver just won the MVP in a Super Bowl. We didn't have him 15 years ago, and they certainly weren't winning MVPs in the Super Bowl. that for a lot of reasons, some analytically, slot receivers, because teams don't want their quarterback doing 7-step drops and getting hit. So get rid of the ball fast. Slot receivers are big. The NBA, when I grew up, was a center league. It is now a guard wing league. Can't hand check.
Right.
So the players were asked, who would you start your franchise around? Not only do they put James Harden in a tie for 10th.
That's shocking.
Which is dumb.
Right.
Not only did they put Steph Curry in 6th, which is just
That's
so
dumb.
It's just disrespectful. They put Anthony Davis 2nd. Now, timeout. Gets hurt regularly.
Playoff series victory.
7 years in the league. Not really a leader. Again, gets hurt a lot. Doesn't control the ball. And not a great 3-shooter. Like, am I nuts on this?
No.
Players are massively overvaluing Anthony Davis.
And you see they're overvaluing size in that list. They're clearly overvaluing Davis. He's a great player, but to start your team around, not necessarily. Steph, this list is why Steph Curry is going to benefit when Kevin Durant leaves this season.
Why?
Because Steph Curry, before KD goes to Golden State, Steph Curry he had become the face of the league. LeBron took it back when they won that championship. But for a year and a half, Steph was the face of the league, and it would have been a great rivalry between not only the Warriors and the Cavs, but LeBron and Steph to see who's the face of the NBA. But Steph was on pace. Tim Legler, our former colleague at the old network, and we have great respect for him, he was saying Steph could be a top 3 player of all time. Now, I think that was a little far, but he was on pace to be a top 10 player of all time. Maybe, dare I even broach this, challenge Magic Johnson for the all-time best point guard of all time.
Much better scorer.
Right, no question, and changed the game, as did Magic to some degree. But when Kevin Durant goes to Golden State, all that changes. And when he leaves, if and when he leaves after this season, Steph Curry is going to show people again how great he is. Anyone who thinks that the Golden State Warriors are going to fall off if KD leaves has another thing coming. Steph, Clay, and Draymond are going to be motivated, and I think we have been a bit robbed, Colin. We've been robbed. That last season Steph had before KD got there, 30 points a game every week. It was something crazy he was doing. We've been robbed, and we're going to get it back when KD leaves. So bye, KD, go. Win your title, win your 3rd title, and go to New York with Kyrie, even out the league, and Steph's going to put on a show.
It's amazing. Like, players, you play in the league. You got all these big guys ahead of Steph and Harden. They control games. Harden basically is the offense. I like Anthony Davis. I've said this about Anthony Davis. If he joins LeBron, they'll be better. He gives you 24 and 12. But late in games, who's getting
He'll be playing off LeBron. LeBron will be the driving force, and Anthony will play off him.
All right. Colin right, Colin wrong. I will say this. Joy and I have, and we like LeBron. We've been LeBron advocates.
All right.
Is it fair now to say, interview Friday, I, we, I, me, I, we, I, me? Are you feeling the same thing?
I said that earlier in the year. I didn't really feel it so much from that interview. I didn't have a problem with the I stuff in it. What I have a problem with is LeBron. And I'm with you guys. I'm a LeBron guy, but stop the open recruiting. Stop it. Recruit on the low. We don't need to hear any more about how you're going to go out and who's going to join me in the car and who's going to join me in the bus. And no, because there's no upside to that. Number one, what if nobody wants to jump in the car with you? Then it looks like nobody wants to play with you, number one. And number two, when you show up for training camp in late September or October, it's already going to feel like a lost cause. Because this whole summer, all we've been hearing is, who's he going to get? I got to go out and get somebody. I'm going to be recruiting. And so that's number one. Number two is not helping your guys. What if you come back with the same exact team or, for the most part, the same core? You have to build these guys up. This is the Anthony Davis thing all over again.
No, you're right. He keeps talking about players to join me. How about the guys you got?
Right. You just are kind of coming out of the Anthony Davis thing, and everybody's kind of moved on from that. Don't do it again. You should be saying, look, we like everybody else, if you don't win the championship, you got to improve. So we're going to be trying to go out and get guys. But I like what we have. Brandon Ingram showed improvement. Kuzma, we know what he can do. Lonzo is a great defender. Like, build them up, and it could be total BS. And on the low, you're making calls. You got all these guys' numbers. They respect you. You can call them and recruit quietly. But don't announce it to the world. There's no upside at all, and there's plenty of downside to that.
Chris Broussard, great seeing you, bud. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.